everyone, welcome to Dennis Saliba Occult Fortean, and yes, this is my face. My face is out there, my first live stream showing my face. And in today's stream, we will be continuing on with the Phurba or the Kila, which is heavily connected to Tibetan Buddhism and also shamanism as well. This includes connections to Nepalese shamanism and possible connections to Hungarian shamanism. So let's begin continuing on with the same article from last week. In the previous stream, we talked about the nature of the Phurba, its uses, and the purpose behind it. And basically, the Phurba is a tool of divine wrath. It's also used for blessings and exorcisms. It could be comparable to a crucifix in Christianity for those that are more of a Christian Abrahamic background. I won't say that the use is precisely the exact same, but the gist use of that could be comparable to a crucifix. Yeah. I would say it would be fair to make those comparisons based on those functions at least. But of course, this is a specific school of Buddhism. Mainstream Buddhism doesn't use the Phurba much like the Tibetans do. So let's continue on. Wrathful and peaceful together. So wrathful and peaceful together. It's true that the Phurba is the penultimate wrathful implement. Externally, the triune, that's the triune down the bottom, can suppress demons internally or externally, so it's both. Internally, as a meditation object, it is the implement used to cut through the three poisons and all delusions. It is often used to exorcise demons, inner and outer, and it's also popularly used in movies, although it's incorrect. It's a peaceful implement in the sense that it's a purifying instrument. It's not meant for sacrifices it's not a weapon. In Alec Baldwin's movie, when there's the Phurba featured in it, they try to show it as like some kind of flying snakehead thing, but it's not true. It is said no demon or spirit can resist the blade of truth. When made of meteoric iron, they are often more potent, metal touched by divine heavens. Traditionally, the pointed blade are used for protection, banishing, repulsing, exercising, and wrathful actions, or basically calling up wrathful entities and using them to do the banishments on your behalf. That's a little bit more directly involved as opposed to Christianity, when you have more intercession, praying for something on your belief. While the reverse end, so that's the reverse end that they're discussing there, is typically crowned with a half vajra or a horse head and used for attracting blessings, wealth, and prosperity. In the video, Sarah J., the abbot is touching the horse head, the crown of the Phurba, to the people being blessed or healed. So Phurba is a balanced instrument. It is light in the sense that there's positive energy involved. It is dark in the sense that you are calling upon wrathful entities to do healing and destroy demons, basically. So there's a duality involved. The blade is used to banish, compel, and cut delusions, wrathful practices. And again, wrath in this context is not referring to an unholy wrath, an ego-driven wrath. It is a divine wrath for divine purposes. Typical of the banishing action in ancient times, the Phurba would be driven into the earth to subdue nature spirits who might disturb residents. And sometimes this can happen, although I find in my experience, encounters with nature spirits are very rare. in particular these days, because society is much more industrialized. And me being in a Western country, they're not really as likely to believe in nature spirits anyway, because Christianity or the Judaic religions, the Abrahamic religions do dominate the Western countries for the time being, and they don't really affirm nature spirits as much. But elementals can cause you problems, that's true, even though they themselves are just forces in nature. But nature spirits are a separate category from demons, if those of you who are not too familiar with elementals. Basically, elementals are powered by specific locations or specific parts of the environment around them. So, for example, if you have a water entity, a water spirit, the water spirit will be manifesting itself through things such as, broken water pipes or high pressure inside your plumbing system. And a fire entity might, for example, blow up your stove if you're being haunted by such things. But they do cause more physical danger than the lower level demons. Compared to the high level demons, that might be a different story, though. Higher level demons tend to cause diseases just by being around their presence. And nature spirits don't do that as much. Nature spirits tend to be manifested more through the physical elements. This would be followed by non-Phurba yurts or tent pegs to hold up the structure. It is important to note, although there are clearly supernatural powers associated with Phurbas, the banishing can equally be banishing our own negative emotions such as anger, jealousy, or attachment to the world or the Maya. I'm going to use the term Maya in this case, or samsara, the physical samsara illusion. At Sarah J, Hayagriva practice is very special. The ancient Phurba is one of the most sacred treasures, only brought out once a year. Let's have a look. So this looks like I'm not so sure if his title, but this is like a senior monk or an elder, and he's blessing the monks in training here. And his Phurba, as you can see, it's wrapped in cloth. And this is clearly more of a blessing ritual. He's basically ordaining the monks, and he's giving them additional blessings there, and they're handing him the white cloth. And I'm not too sure if he's a monk. He doesn't seem to be. He might not be. But notice that even he could receive a blessing on the forehead. And again, same thing, blessing on the head, because that's the third eye chakra. Body is stored within the head. Anyway, so you get the picture there. All right, Padmasambhava and the scorpion. So I'm guessing this is a very high-level, learned bodhisattva. He's an enlightened, he's attained his ascendance. Padmasambhava, I think, is a specific individual, a specific person who attained a high level of enlightenment. And the scorpion, the wrathful and awesome power of the Phurba, is symbolized in the scorpion. The great Buddha, okay, so he attained the title of Buddha. Padmasambhava, who helped tame the violent spirits and demons of Tibet and Nepal, is most associated with Phurba practice. Lesser known is the association with the scorpion, Robert Beer, in his book Encyclopedia, I should get this actually. I'm going to save that title. I'm going to buy this. Of Tibetan symbols and motifs, explains the sting of the scorpion's whip-like tail transfixes and poisons its prey. And in this respect, it is identified with the wrathful entity, or the ritual dagger, or the Kila. Padmasambhava. His biography relates how he received the Siddhi or the Kila transmission at the Great Channel of Vajrayana, a gigantic scorpion with 9 heads. It sounds a little bit similar to another entity, but it's a Goetic entity. Different entity, of course, but it's not the only creature that I know of with 9 heads. 18 pincers and 27 eyes. The scorpion reveals the Kila text from a triangular stone box hidden beneath a rock in the cemetery. The Padmasambhava reads this Terma text, spontaneous understanding arises, and the heads, the pincers, the eyes of the scorpion are revealed as different vehicles or yanas of spiritual attainment. So this Rajgriha is actually a teacher. It's actually serving the function as a teacher of the yanas. Here at Rajgriha, Padmasambhava is given the title of Scorpion Guru. In one of his 8 forms, Guru Dragpo and Pema Drago, the wrathful lotus, which you might see in some of the yantras. The yantras will have the flower pattern, and it might represent the scorpion. So, hey, Sucker Mate, how you doing, man? Good to see you on board. Finally able to catch my live. Hey, Dennis, he says. Psycho Mind, good to have you. What time is it over there? It is the 1st of November, and it is 11:45 a.m. So it's not too late. Not too late on my end. What time is it over there? What time is it over there? I think 12 or like just before 12 o'clock is the best time to catch everyone. But yeah, we're going to talk about the part 2, the entities behind the Phurba, the Tibetan Phurba, which I've shown this before in a different stream, different channel. But I keep a Phurba with me for travel, and I have another one in my house on my altar, because this, you can use it to protect yourself from demons and lower level beings, but this is a Tibetan Buddhism tool, and you can also use this for blessing as well. So it's got 2 purposes, 2 key purposes behind it. Almost 1 a.m. You're up late, man. You okay? You good? Almost 1 a.m. 12:45 a bit. That's crazy. I'm like talking to you from the future. That's crazy. That's insane. He's depicted with a scorpion in his left hand, as above. As an emblem of the wrathful Kila transmission, the image of the scorpion took on strong symbolic meaning in the early development of the Nyingma, or the ancient school of Tibetan Buddhism. So the Nyingma is probably the purest form. While in Kathmandu, I should say Kathmandu village, the lotus-born Padmasambhava had difficulty in the caves with demonic martyrs. And the martyrs are a type of demon entity that are the children of what's believed to be the demon martyr. Surprisingly, Tibetan Buddhism also recognizes martyr as the father demon. And the martyr is also recognized in Lao Theravada school of Buddhism as well. Martyr tries to seduce Buddha and tries to lead him astray with his 3 beautiful daughters, and of course Fa Mai Tharani in Laos, and Thailand. She washes her hair. She's the beautiful lady with the long ponytail. She washes her hair like this, and then she washes away the demons, and she floods the demons away. So that's another connection there, interestingly enough. To counteract this, he asked the Phurba Vayatma Tantrasbe, brought from India. In his biography, it is recorded that as soon as practices were implemented, all the demonic obstructions in Nepal ceased. So again, this is like this is from a movie. Golden Child, starring Eddie Murphy. I haven't seen this movie, but it looks like it misrepresents the Phurba according to that. The awesome wrathful deities of the Phurba. The Phurba or the Kila is the wrathful implement associated with three of the most awesome and ferocious of the wrathful deities. There's Hayagriva, Vajrakilaya, Black Mahakala. This is probably the most cited being that you'll see all over the temples, in Buddhist temples all over Tibet and China and Nepal. The Black Mahakala scares away the demons. It's like a big, chubby looking entity. It's portrayed as like a chubby looking entity. There's 24 aspects to it, but it's like a big red-eyed, black-skinned being, and it scares away the demons. It's a pretty cool being. It's actually pretty calming to listen to the chants to Mahakala. He's not scary to humans. He might be at first, but like later, you can vibe with Mahakala actually. There are specialized Phurpas dedicated to Padma Sambhava. I'm guessing this is one of them. The Hayagriva Yab Yum Phurba. And notice that it doesn't bear a crown. The crown is on the entity itself, but the multiple arms adorn the top of the Phurba instead of the three-headed Nagas. I have a Phurba with the three-headed Nagas, but that's a different tool for a different entity. There are specialized Phurba, specialized Phurpas dedicated to Padma Sambhava and other deities, like here, and in Tibetan, the Dosh Phurba. It's very hard to speak Tibetan. Tibetan's such a hard language to speak. Is the best known in the West, awareness spread by many, Vajrakilaya blessings, and by His Holiness Sakya Trizin. Equally most secret, Hayagriva is very popular and precious. The deity cannot be separated from the Kila or the Phurba. They are not separate. The essence of the deity is embodied within the Phurba itself directly. So you can call upon the wrathful entity to do the exorcism or the blessing and exercise elements of yourself as well, because the energy is within it. Psycho Mind, I was chatting to a viewer on my channel. He wanted to chop it up with me, talk about astral projection. I want to see if I can direct him to you. I don't really practice astral projection as much. I used to be able to do it more intuitively as a kid. This is a power that I've practiced less of because I'm more on the exorcism, banish the demon side of things. And I was also the same with Christianity. I did grow up as a Christian. I was baptized in the Catholic Church, but the way that I would pray to God would be I would always pray for God to banish certain demons, and pray again when I was younger, pray to God to banish certain demons, and pray to God to kill certain beings and energies of people that judge and persecute me, because that's just how I was. I was always sort of like saw God as like two sides. The Abrahamic God, that he has this wrathful side, and then there's this loving New Testament kind of side to him. I'm going to be up for a while, but I want to stay in this live stream and enjoy it. Please stay, please, please. Thoughts on hand mudras? Any connections with mudras that relate to the Phurba? Not that I know of, because the mudras are connected towards the movements of the hands. That's part of the mudras. That's only one of them. There's many others. But I am not as informed on the mudras, actually. This is Still something that I'm researching. This is Tibetan style Buddhism, and Hungary, Nepal, and Laos seem to have inspiration from the Phurba itself, actually. Funnily enough, this tool is also used in shamanism, so there's some deep living memory there. But the mudras might be a part of some of the ceremonies. That's possible, because again, it's about the movements of the hand channel certain energies, and those certain energies are used for specific rituals and specific intentions. I guess the ritual is an expression of an intention, and the ritual brings the intention from supernatural action into the physical more often than not, but not always in the physical. It's big spectrum. The Phurba is considered a living Nirmanakaya deity. One of the reasons Phurbas are typically covered in blue cloth when out in public. So that's something I should do. Blue cloth, or have like a bag around my Phurba. It's no wonder why people look at me like I'm a weirdo out in public. Phurbas are also often placed on altars where offerings can be made to them, which I do that anyway. Hayagriva, Vajrakilaya, and Mahakala are all wrathful and secret higher tantric deities. Hayagriva is a wrathful manifestation of Amitabha. Vajrakilaya is the wrathful animation of Vajra Sattva, and the Mahakala is a wrathful Avalokiteshvara. That's a mouthful. But Mahakala, like I said earlier, he has 24 faces, 24 spirit bodies in 24 different forms. The most commonly cited form of Mahakala is the black form, the darkness form, but people do portray him as blue and green and other forms as well. Phurba is a mandala. Like the bell in Vajrayana Buddhism, the Phurba is the entire mandala, or symbolic universe of deity. So it is the universe in your hand. Take it as a whole, the Phurba not only contains the essence of the deity, but also the mandala of the deity, or the cosmos of the deity. Just as with higher yogic practices, we visualize ourselves as deities, so the divinity within, and our surroundings as deity mandala. The Phurba itself is mandala and deity, it's both. And as you can see here, Nakma Rinpoche with a Phurba. The Phurba is being held in a wrathful mudra. Okay, so here we are. This is the movement of one of the mudras. He's doing the what I suspect is he's doing the I won't say channeling, that's the wrong word. He's drawing energy from the cosmos, from the Phurba and the entity directly to do the ritual. I'm not sure which ritual this is, but this looks like it's a not done by an everyday person. This is definitely done by someone who is highly trained. It looks like he's very highly trained. He has to be a sattva of some kind. But yeah, the mudras can relate to the Phurba, but they have specific mudras for specific things. The Mahakala has 24 forms. It has 24 forms. As a whole, Phurba is a balanced, complete implement, as suggested by the concept of mandala. Within Phurba are contained both wrathful and peaceful activities, which it's both. Duality, Phurba holds a position in prominence in ritual practice, especially in meditations. In the days of migrating peoples, the place of practice might have been different daily, weekly, or seasonally. In case of the yogis or the yoginis, they might go off to caves, which is what I tend to have dreams about, the yogis and the yoginis going off into caves and chanting around the martyrs, and the martyrs try to infiltrate the spirits and the minds of the yogis, but it doesn't. 99% of the time it doesn't work. That only 1% of the time when it does happen, that's because the yoginis are young yoginis, not fully initiated into the complete training. Little do the martyrs know that when there's a possession or a partial possession, that's actually part of the training as well. And they think that they're in control, but they're not in control. So martyrs, always be careful of the young yogis. The young yogis, though they may not have the training of a seasoned yogini, you're training them and you don't even know it. I've had visions about that as a kid. Cemeteries and wilderness for retreats, wild areas ripe with energies of the land or recently deceased. So it's also a consecration tool for human spirits that are between the life and death realms. You can use it for that. The three-edged blade, although the wrathful end is called a blade, it's not a sharp-edged knife. It's not. It's a blunt knife. It's like a blunt-edged knife. The three edges have very special symbolic significance and powers. It represents the three worlds. As I have mentioned this earlier in another stream, through the Buddhism believes in the three worlds. So does Hungarian shamanism. There is the Trayolokya or Tiloka, the three planes of existence, and the world axis. That's the world axis here, here, and here. The handle of the Phurba is the world axis, which unites the three worlds. The three poisons as well, the edges. So that's the moha, delusions and confusion. The raga, the greed and attachment. And behind it, the devsha, aversion or ill will. The three remedies, which is also embedded within the same blades. Remedying the three poisons are moha, prajna, non-delusional wisdom, alobna or dana, non-attachment and generosity, and loving kindness and hatred, non-hatred, the metta, and the adavesa. Converting the three poisons into three remedies, the purification of body, speech, and mind. And speech is particularly important because it carries the chants, and the chants carry the specific frequencies and energies during any ritual, but even daily life as well. So it carries both your karma and your dharma. It carries both. Be very mindful of your speech. It's a beautiful design, to be fair, says Psychomind. Yeah. This is probably one of the higher end Phurbas, and it's this one's probably handcrafted. Most likely it's handcrafted by one of the yoginis and above. And it's made out of meteoric iron as well, which meteoric iron is rare. That's a very, that Phurba probably costs at least $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,000 easy. That's very high end. The primary wrathful function versus the peaceful functions is to cut delusions. Yeah, we're getting up to the entities now. Is similar to the katika, or the flaying knife in Tibetan symbolism. In other words, if you think of any of the threes above, such as body, speech, and mind, the wrathful action would be to cut the delusions and impurities of body, speech, and mind. They're all connected. It's also described in terms of its pinning action. For example, in an exorcism, the outer or inner demon is pinned to the point. So this might be an exorcism here, actually. The pinning, the point, that's the pin, that's the divine pin. And he's pinning the point. This actually could be the mudra within the exorcism. That might be an exorcism. I'm surprised that they've even been allowed to photograph that. That surprises me that they can photograph such a ritual like that. Body, speech, and mind cut delusions. Yep, it is described in terms of pinning action. So yeah, pin, the mudra. Inner or outer demon is pinned to the point, pinned at that specific point, driven into the ground or a bowl of salt. Now the salt or the rice, the salt is interesting because salt is typically used in European paganism. It's the protective barrier in Hungarian beliefs. They get non-iodized purified salt and they sprinkle it on the left shoulder for good luck and for protection. But the salt I think it has properties where it dilutes electromagnetic frequencies and that it dilutes the energy of the demon itself. So that's what I suspect the use of the salt is for, whereby it is released from suffering and its delusions are removed. So again, demons removed, put into the salt. In the case of a supernatural entity such as a ghost, which in some law actually echoes created by our extreme attachment to this world even after death, the Phurba would release the ghost to be born. So again, it's got that healing aspect, and that you go, you are no longer in samsara, you are going to be reborn. It's a bit like a beacon for ghosts. It's like a beacon for ghosts to tell them, leave samsara, be reborn. Go into the divine and be reborn. The Nagas. Phurbas are often, but not always, have Nagas or snakes. My Phurba upstairs has the Nagas or the snakes in the blade. Naga is Sanskrit for serpent or dragon or snake. Nagas symbolically are entities in nature that are associated with illnesses. Entwining is very similar to the staff of Asclepius or Caduceus of Hermes. That's the symbol, that's the rod, and it's got the two snakes. That's the Caduceus, the two snakes wrapped around the rod with the two wings like this. Symbol of medicine and healing. And I think this looks like, this might be Mahakala, actually. That looks like Mahakala to me. So he's got his third eye open. He's got his big eyes. But that's his third eye. These are his other forms. His wrathful form, his other form, more divine form. He's got the Phurba in his two hands, and his other hands carry into the multiple dimensions. And you notice around the Mahakala's wrists. Is it Mahakala? Maybe it's not. The wrists have like the Nagas on it because he is a force of nature as well. It's a multi-dimensional being. So wrathful deities such as Vajrayana are often misunderstood by Westerners as demonic in appearance. I mean, he has a scary appearance, but the scary appearance more often than not is to scare away demons themselves. Normally the demons of Buddhism are very beautiful. They're like the very beautiful, seductive male and female beings. The fierce appearance represents skillful means. The Vajrayana literally means the Doj Phurba. So that's him holding the hands with both hands. And one side is wisdom, the other side is the compassion. The deity handle, mirroring the three edges of the blade, usually but not always, has three deity faces, like my Phurba upstairs. I'll come and get it. One might be wrathful, one might be peaceful, one joyful. Sometimes it is white, peaceful, one red, and one blue, representing body, speech, and mind. So different aspects of yourself, but it could also be different aspects of the entity as well. Some Phurbas for specialized deities might have one face, such as the one earlier. That's a very specialized Phurba there. One face. Such as for Hayagriva Yabyum, which I think that's a Hayagriva. That was a Hayagriva Phurba there. Alternately, the three faces can be three deities, such as Beer explains. The white right face is usually identified as the deity Yamantaka or Trilokyavijaya. So the Yamantaka is the world, who represents the aspect of the body and the destruction of hatred, purification. The blue central face is Amtrita Kundalin, so connected to Kundalini, of course, represents the aspect of the mind and the destruction of delusion. And then the red left face is that of Hayagriva, which represents the aspect of speech, the destructive chants that exercise the martyrs, the destruction of greed. But the aspect of speech in particular is the chanting against the evil entities. Regardless of one face or three, which deity we must respect Phurba as we would a deity, thinking it of Nirmanikaya, animation of an enlightened deity. So here we have the union of the divine feminine, the union of the divine masculine. He's holding the Phurba as the sword, a little bit like as above. And this is the gateway into the physical world. That's the gateway to the physical world there. And it's going through the spine. You notice the symbolism is going through the spine. The Kundalini snake spine energy goes as above, so below, as into the cosmos, or as within, also as without into the physical world. So that's the two-armed Hayagriva in union with his consort. Yeah, the divine feminine, Vajravarahi. Sorry about that. Hayagriva has a green horse. He's standing on top of the green horse. Head bursting symbolically from his fiery hair. That's his fiery hair. That's his hair. It's fire. It's the green horse. Vajravarahi, I'm not very good at saying these names, has a sow pig or a pig sow on his head, signifying overcoming ignorance. This union is symbolic of the importance of combining both compassion and wisdom. I'm presuming that wisdom is within the divine masculine here, and the compassion is the nurturing feminine of the consort there. Specialized agents, Vajra, Kila, Hayagriva, and Mahakala. Often depending on the teacher, student, and yidam, the deity is depicted is one or three wrathful deities, Vajra, Kila, Hayagriva, Mahakala. But there are other specialized practices as well, with the bell, the ding, 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 the small bell, ding. The practitioner meditates on their own meditational deity as the object of veneration at the top of the handle. So it's the meditative aspect. The crown, that's the crown, the meditative aspect, the fiery hair, and the three aspects again, the deity itself, the peace, body, the speech. It is similar to the bell, which accompanies the Vajra in Tibetan Buddhism, where the deity must always face the practitioner, is thought of as the enlightened wisdom of the goddess Prajna Paramita, the Taras. There's 21 Taras, 21 forms of the Tara. There's the red, the green, the blue, the white. There's other colored Taras, the Mai Taras. I've encountered the red Tara before when I was a child. It was pretty horrifying, yet it was very enlightening. It's such an intense entity. I'll go back to the red Tara at the top. She's in the thumbnail. That's the red Tara. This is a very, very accurate depiction of what my encounter with the Tara was like. And she pointed the Phurba directly at me when I was a child. She said, though you may crave honor, victory, and combat, it is not written in your destiny to take part in this act, in this lifetime of yours. One of these days you will pick up the Phurba. And that, funnily enough, came true. That's crazy. That's what happened in my vision with the red Tara. And I was permanently rejected from the Australian military this week, actually. The same week that I'm talking about the red Tara. Funny that. By the people, for the people. Hello, how are you? Nice to see you. A long-term OG supporter of mine. By the people, for the people. We're going to be talking about Tibetan Buddhism today. Continuing on with part 2 about the different uses and the more so what the entity side behind the Phurba, because the Phurba is very complex. It is very complex. So you could probably spend your entire lifetime training and practicing with the Phurba and practicing tantric Buddhism. If I'm going to be honest, you could probably spend 10 lifetimes doing this and you still won't know everything. There are other specialized practices. So we talked about that. Vajrayogini, depending on your practice. So different schools have different entities behind them. The level of detail on many Phurbas is astonishing, with ferocious snarling teeth, 3 wrathful eyes and skull crowns. That's not a proper depiction of the Phurba. Depending on the deity, some Phurbas have the entire body, complete with arms and faces, like the earlier Phurba with the one entity on it, because that's very specialized for that being. Above the knots, or the Vajras, the knots, or instead of just faces, the Garuda wings, the arms can also represent the Garuda wings, a little bit like the Caduceus, such as the Yab-yum deity in consort. So the Yab and the Yum, the Yab masculine, the Yum feminine there. So yeah, this silly movie just tries to make the Phurba to be this demon snake-like being, but it's not true. Another crazy interpretation of the Phurba in movies: here a Phurba that bites and flies through the air. Phurbas don't fly through the air. Phurbas are issued to the practitioner. The movie starred Alec Baldwin in The Shadow. I think I've seen that movie, but it's just bull crap, that movie. The crown of the Phurba is the most important area. It is thought of as the place of the blessing, like the crown chakra inside your spirit body, the crown chakra where the third eye is. Same as the Phurba. Blessings in meditation practice, visualized nectar or light normally enters the crown of our heads. This is where the enlightenment occurs. The crown of the Phurba, and that's also funnily enough in Christianity, you put, or at least in the Catholic Church, they put the ashes on the crown as well, the crown chakra, and the blessing as well. They do the blessing like that. The crown of the Phurba is the transmission point in blessings. When you see a lama bless a child or a person, so I'm guessing the guy earlier, I'm going to go back, I always have to go backwards and forwards. This guy must be a lama then. He's not a regular monk, he's doing an exorcism. He has to be a lama, at least. Strikes me as a lama, now that I think about it. The crown, lama bless a child or a person. It's usually the crown end that touches the person, like we saw earlier in that video. The Sarah J blessing. Typically, the crown is used on a Buddha top knot, one top knot, even if there are 3 deity faces. It's always through the crown to the crown. And the crown of the deity to the crown of the person. On top of the top knot is either a half Vajra, 5 or 9 spokes, depending on the practice. The Vajra Kilaya, and a single triple horsehead for Hayagriva. More on the horsehead symbolism, the horse crown. So this is the horse crown Phurba. And as you can see, there's the 3 horse heads. The very top, it's very small, but there's 3 horse heads at the top. If the Phurba has a horse crown, it is always Hayagriva, the wrathful aspect of Amitabha or Yidam Tamdin. The horse crown is very profound. Hayagriva's horse head represents the wrathful speech, which is the wrathful chanting to stop the martyrs, the demon martyrs. If you've ever heard the scream of an enraged stallion, you know the piercing sound, and that also pierces through the veil, again, to get rid of the maras, because that shows that the maras are going to be hunted in the spirit world. Wolf packs run for cover, and when a stallion screams its rage, such is the power of Hayagriva, who is none other than the wrathful form or emanation of Amitabha Buddha, the Buddha of speech, the chanter. Hayagriva, whether in Phurba form or full body form in Tanka or visualization, is normally visualized with a green head or 3 erupting from its fiery hair. The green represents activity such as with the green Tata and the horse speech. Horses also represent fulfillment of wishes, such as the wish-fulfilling horse. And of course, horses are sacred in Tibet, Mongolia, Nepal, and also Hungarian shamanism. Since Dharma is speech, arguably the Ambitabha and speech have the same importance relative to body, speech, and mind that it does to the 3 jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The speech and Dharma are considered the most important of the 2 threes because the speech is the medium between the spirit world and the physical world, and also your Dharma. It influences your Dharma as well. Because Buddha gave us the Dharma to help us create our own conditions for our own enlightenment. That's the key phrase there, your own enlightenment and that of others. Speech, because Dharma is normally spoken. There's another unusual melodramatic portrayal of the Phurba in The Hero, in The Shadow, the movie The Shadow by Alec Baldwin, flies through the air. This is the target. As a Phurba doesn't do that. You do not throw a Phurba around. Do not throw a Phurba around. It's not to be thrown around. It's a sacred tool. Hello, Blacks. How are you doing? Yo, says Blacks. I think I'm giving like a mini lecture here. I just read articles, guys. I just read articles on my show. I'm not hyper specialized or hyper trained in these things. I will share my experiences, but I'm not hyper trained or whatever in these things. I have certain unusual blood memories, I guess, blood ancestral memories that tie heavily to Hungarian shamanism, Tibetan Buddhism. They're connected, they're not separate. And then elements of the darker side of the occult through my ancestors, the Esterhazy family. I talked about that on one of my other channels, but the Esterhazy family, I'm actually one of their relatives. I'm 16th in line to the Esterhazy throne by blood, and I've had a DNA test done twice this year just to confirm that. I have the suspicion that they were involved in dark occultism. This is not dark occultism, though. The handle, the Vajra, or the knots. The main grip of the Phurba is typically an 8-sided shaft with 2 asymmetrical knots. So this is probably this type of Phurba. And as you can see in the background, there's the Garuda wings. Compassion and wisdom. Wisdom leads to compassion. Compassion is the action of wisdom. Wisdom embodied. The main grip of the Phurba is typically an 8-sided shaft with 2 asymmetrical knots. It's the knots between the worlds. Or a complete Vajra. Beer describes knots as this way. Its form may derive from its use as a tethering stake, or from its uses in Kalana rituals, which is a type of Kundalini. It's a type of Kundalini, where the protective circle is petted out on the ground and bound with the color thread. In a Nyingma text from Northern Treasure tradition, or Tibetan Byangpa, it is stated that samsara, that's the physical world, the illusion world is samsara, and nirvana, that's the cosmic world, that's the bliss, the way you attain your bliss, divine bliss, are enclosed within vast knots. So the tying of the realms are at either end of the handle. The 8-sided shaft can have multiple meanings. The 8 directions with the knots top and bottom, representing, again, I talked about this earlier, as above, so below. What happens in the spirit world happens in the physical world. It also includes what happens in the crown chakra, your spirit mind, your spirit eye, happens in the root chakra in the physical primordial physical world and your physical body, like your desires for food, your desires for water, your desires for pleasures, that's within the root chakra as part of your spirit body. You have 7 spirit bodies as a human being, are enclosed within vast knots, which is the Shakti, Mahakanda at either end of the handle. The 8-sided shaft can have multiple meanings. So as above, so below. The zenith or the nadir, the zenith, nadir, zenith, nadir. The 8-fold path, the 8 consciousness, the 8 great charnel grounds of the mandala, and esoterically the 8 main psychic channels that radiate from the heart chakra to the crown, down to the root chakra, back to the crown, back to the heart. It's like an ongoing process. It doesn't stop once. It's an ongoing process. You're a little sore from the accident with the hammer. I'm going to get this book. I'm going to save this book. Save, 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 save. I'm going to save that book. Legendary powers or common mundane siddhis. The siddhis. Some of the legendary powers of the Phurbas gave rise to its movie portrayals. The siddhis may be mentioned by a teacher. The goal of Phurba use is never mundane. Siddhis such as these. Before mentioning this more frivolous or mundane aspect of Phurba use, it is important to note that all activity of the Phurba must be virtuous and for the benefit of sentient beings, which includes animals, not just humans. Phurba is a karma activity ritual implement, so any misuse obviously accrues serious negative karmic imprints in our mind stream. The crown to the heart to the body to the heart to the crown, and other karmic consequences. According to one account, Phurba may have the abilities to heal with a touch of the head of the Phurba, healing, drive away, hurt, or kill, or force the rebirth of evil spirits. And this is the type of responsibilities my ancestors were a part of. They were shamans by blood. The Lao side, the Laotian side of my ancestors had something similar to a Phurba, but I have a lot of visions and memories of these, even from as a kid. Evil spirits, ghosts, see, I can administer to ghosts and the like, whether thought of as supernatural or mind constructs. And again, be careful with your thought forms. Your thought forms can manifest in the physical world. You are that powerful. And a tulpa is a thought form. A tulpa can also be an alchemical form. A little bit, an example of that could be the transgender movement. The transgender movement is an example of alchemical tulpas coming into the physical, because you're using chemicals to manifest the thought form of the you as the opposite gender, then you manifest that into the physical. So that's a very dangerous and dark form of the tulpa, the transgender movement. I know, because I used to be one myself. I'm a detransitioner. It's a very form of tulpa magic, but mind constructs can also include your fantasies and your other repressed subconscious desires that attach you to the samsara, or the physical world, or even as metaphors. And again, it depends on how powerful the intention of the person is behind it. It depends on so many factors: their bloodline, their karmic, collective, ancestral bloodline, the accumulation of their good deeds and their bad deeds. It depends on things like if your ancestors were involved in black magic or not, or if your ancestors were involved in healing magic or not. You might attain that through the bloodlines. There's so many factors as to how much power can manifest mind constructs into play. Okay, I've heard of both schools of thought. Can ghosts or spirits hurt you physically or not? It depends on who they are, where they are and their relationship with you. If it's a ghost that is just simply lost, I highly doubt that the ghost can hurt you. Most likely the ghost is probably just stuck between worlds, a little bit like you're in an unknown place. Like as if you're a tourist and you're in an unknown place. Most ghost sightings are that. Most ghost sightings are stuck between worlds. They don't know how to go from point A to point B. And there's some unresolved attachment that they have to the world. Spirits can hurt you physically if someone sends them after you. You can have groups that send spirits after you. It's happened to me with Pazuzu, the archdemon Pazuzu from Mesopotamia. The Wallenberg family and the Esterhazy family sent that being after me a few times when I was a child. There's a lot of factors by the people for the people. Spirits can hurt you, but it's very multifaceted. Jinn can hurt you. Elementals might if they feel like you're disturbing their territory. The more dangerous beings, though, tend to be black magic practitioners, like the dogmen. The Laos has the tiger men. Laos has a tiger version of the wolf men. Or if it's like a vampiric practicing entity. But normally skinwalkers or the Yinagloshi, the wolfmen are black magic practitioners. They are human beings themselves, but they're so embedded in the dark occult that they have made pacts where they've sold out their humanity to hunt specific humans down. But normally those entities target medicine men and healers. They don't target random people, or they target political leaders like chief leaders of the chiefdoms. Blacks, he's saying he's feeling a little sore. He's been on his feet all day. Have you been working, man? Have you been grinding all day? By the people for the people. If I knew you had this channel, I would have subscribed sooner. It's all right. By the people for the people. This was a more clandestine channel just because I was experimenting a little bit more. But I don't talk about the Abrahamic stuff as much, being Jews, Christianity, and Islam. I don't talk about that as much on this channel because I want to learn more about my Hungarian and my Lao heritage. That's what inspired the channel in the first place. I want to learn more about my Lao and Hungarian heritage, but it's evolving into other things, and I guess the channel will evolve. You've been working all day? Man, you got to take it easy, man. Crack open a cold one or something. But back to if spirits can physically hurt you or not, it depends if you are in their territory or not. It depends if the spirit is lost or not, or if the spirit's used by certain rituals to be like a conduit. They used as like a vessel that does the dirty work for the fraternities behind it. Or if they're used by another fraternity to do positive white magic work. There's a lot of factors behind which spirits and your relationship to them, if they see you as weak or not, if you have past karma. I believe in past karma and dharma myself. If your family, for example, was involved in white magic or black magic, and then certain beings can attach to your bloodline and you can't exercise it easily because it's tied directly into your bloodline and it's within your genetic blood memory. Your physical body is part of that vessel which the cosmos attaches itself to. So many factors are involved. Ghosts, supernatural or mind constructs, flying through the air under its own superpowers, mundane cities, or basically natural cities, so fast that no man or horse could outrun it, is immune to destruction by forces of magic. And again, magic is a very loose term there. Magic can be, I think it means black magic though, black magic and sorcery. Very few people are sorcery minded. A lot of people are like, oh, sorcery is pharmakia. In the Greek definition of the word, you might be right. However, sorcery is like more like the MK Ultra mind control programming. I gaslight you, I program you to a specific reality, then you manifest that specific reality the way that I design you to. That's sorcery, and a lot of sorcery you will find in politics. A lot of sorcery definitely is in politics and the legal system. Thomas Sheridan talks about this in more detail than I do. My research is heavily inspired by Thomas Sheridan, of course, so credit to where credit is due. He's this Irish pagan, but he's incredibly well read. He's also featured in the channel section down below. The law, you could argue, is a grimoire for the politicians, in other words. Commercial law, criminal law, it's all a giant grimoire for the politicians in charge. That could be so ancestral, yeah. And I want to talk about that because that's the central topic that keeps coming up in these streams. I want to talk about the Rudolf Steiner blood occult significance of blood. I have his book on my bookshelf. See, this is my big hope in this life. I just buy boundless books and I just read and read and read and read and read. I've traveled before, don't get me wrong. I used to live in China in the past. I visited a lot of Buddhist temples in China in the past. I went to Vietnam. I went to Thailand in the same year. I went to the US. I lived in the US in 2016 for about 3 months. And before that, I visited Korea, Hungary, America, England, and Scotland a few times. I've also visited Malta as well. I've traveled. There's a really wide, if you are able to afford travel, there is a broad, much broader world out there. And I would, if you can, take time to travel, of course. It will open up your eyes to so many things. The making of a Phurba today. Endless reproductions are churned out through factory forges. I have one of them. Using molds and sold widely, this easy accessibility runs counter to the lofty status of the Phurba, which is meant only for students of the higher yogas. Some craftspeople under the guidance of Tibetan masters and teachers have revived the true craft. And again, if you're buying a Phurba, do not buy one with a crystal in it. It is new age. There's probably entities attached to it that you don't want attached to you. And it just does not have the same power as a Phurba that you would acquire directly from a monk. This would be a mass-produced Phurba, just so you know. This is a mass-produced Phurba. But the one upstairs that I have, it's a golden Phurba, golden coated one. It was sold to me directly by a monk. A monk sold it to me, actually, through eBay, of course, but it was still bought from a monk from a temple. That's the Phurba that I use on my altar. It's like this big. Nevertheless, the most sloppily manufactured Phurba is empowered in the right hand. So again, there's variables involved: your intention, your ritual, your devotion, your lineage, your level of vril, your life force, your psychic energy within you, which is tied to your lineage as well. Any mundane spiritual object can become powerful, but I would not personally use new age stuff if it were me. The MK Ultra brainwashing was used on celebrities by handlers. That's right. That's a form of sorcery, black magic sorcery. To be desired role for the time or mission. These people are programmed with alter egos. That's right. I think the masses have been programmed with alter egos as well through TV. TV is an MK Ultra brainwashing device. So is my stream. My stream is a form of MK Ultra. Actually, it is. This is a form of ritual in the sense that I am instructing you. You're gathering around my stream as a magical circle. My grimoire is the article that I'm reading, and then you guys are inherently around my magical circle through this channel, through this stream. You could make a case for that. These people are programmed with alter egos. These celebrities have multiple personalities. There's a reason why the butterfly programming is the way it is. It is designed to break up the personality. That's what the butterfly represents. It's the fragmentation of consciousness into the disassociative state. And then the disassociative state brings the entities in. And then those entities enhance the person in their celebrity magic by the established. I'm going to call it the establishment because we don't really know who they are behind the curtain. That's why they're behind the curtain. But the establishment ultimately definitely has heavy involvement in this. Yeah, they do. Smile faces. Yeah, trauma does fragment the personality. And it can be a good thing or a bad thing in the sense that it can encourage the person to alchemize themselves, or it can encourage the person to become possessed. It goes both ways. But more often than not, the most enlightened people I find went through some very deep trauma arc, such as encountering a dark end. Even in Buddhism, they encounter, like the bodhisattvas, they encounter a very powerful entity which is shocking to them, but then they somehow alchemize with that entity, and then they're able to attain nirvana and spread that nirvana to other people. So don't underestimate the objects you have around you. My advice would also be, if you're buying spiritual objects, buy new ones. The only exception to that is if you're inheriting something directly from your ancestral line. It's best to keep these things within your bloodline, by the way, because it charges psychic energy and power throughout the generations. It builds a charge. But if you're going to buy something new, buy it new. Don't buy secondhand, because you might have residual energies of entities attached to them. Just as even the most meticulously crafted and blessed Phurba might have no value in the hands of a non-practitioner. So that's when intention meets ritual there. That's what they're describing. Kilas and Phurbas are made from many materials for genuine wrathful activities such as banishing and purifying land. See, you can use it to purify land too. It's not just about purifying entities or yourself. You can use it for consecrations. Iron is the material of choice. Luckily, this is made out of iron. Phurbas are brass with a little iron being considered important for wrathful activities, much like a sword, basically. The off-the-shelf, non-ritual oriented Phurbas are cast in bronze or brass, and some from copper. There are special purpose Phurbas made of wood and bone. I'm a little bit reluctant to deal with materials made out of bone, because that could still contain the life force energy of the source of where you got the bone from. I don't seem to be sensitive to paranormal activity, says by the people, for the people. Also, antique objects may have residual spiritual energy. Yeah. And that was the one of the key themes of the 1978 Exorcist movie. That's why the girl, well, in real life it was the boy, but that's why the girl was haunted in that movie. She had the statue of Pazuzu, and Pazuzu residually haunted it because it came directly from Egypt and I think it was Mesopotamia, actually. It was a Mesopotamian relic that was brought into the house, which is, it's very dumb. If you're not from that lineage, I don't recommend bringing certain objects home. Exceptions being something like, again, I'm very biased towards the Phurba because I practice. Exceptions being the Phurba, because this is specifically a protection blessing tool. A crucifix would be great. If you're Islamic, maybe one of the medallions. I think in Islam they use medallions and certain talismans. If you're Jewish, same thing, certain medallions, certain talismans. If you're Catholic, maybe I reckon the best medallion, in my opinion, would be the medallion of Padre Pio. Padre Pio is like one of the all-time great exorcists of the Catholic Church. And demons don't react really well to Padre Pio, which is great, because we like banishing demons here. We like telling demons to burn and squirm. Also, sage can cleanse an environment or house. It depends on your ritual. I'm personally not a user of sage, not because you can't use it for sealing energies, but sage can put the spirit of the house. There's an entity called the spirit of the house, and basically the spirit of the house is a guardian. It protects your residential household, and the spirit of the house can be put to sleep by sage. So it's a two-way street. It can be a sealant, it can be a purifying agent, but the actual usage of it, it would still be smarter to use it for other things. I would use it for other things. Actually, they say she was messing with a Ouija, but that was the real life story. In the real life version of that event, it was a boy. The boy messed with a Ouija board, and Zozo happens to be one of the faces of Pazuzu. And again, I draw that from Thomas Sheridan's analysis. Zozo very much is a face of Pazuzu, yeah. Meteoric iron or sky metal, oh, that's beautiful. I like that. Spectacular Phurba jewelry crafted out of meteoric iron. I want to get one of these eventually. Not now, but in the future. I would love to be able to dual wield two Phurbas, although you're not supposed to dual wield them. The most perfect and wrathful Phurbas contain meteoric iron, significant on many levels. Sky iron comes from the heavens, as above, touched by the divine. Meteoric iron is considered wrathful because of the awesome destructive power of meteors that crash into the planet. One such collision killed the dinosaurs. And iron itself is considered the nemesis of ghosts, spirits, ghosts, and demons. You can also make a case that applies to silver as well, because silver has iron in it anyway. And the fairies in Western lore. Meteoric iron or sky iron is very precious, rare, and expensive. For this reason, most Phurbas are more earthly elements than blessed and visualized as alive with deity presence. For these reasons, meteoric iron or sky metal is highly prized in all of Asia, particularly in Tibet, Nepal, and Mongolia, usually for more wrathful implements and particularly associated with Phurbas. Dark blue color of an iron Phurba symbolizes the meteoric and indestructible Vajra nature, explained Robert Beer. I got to buy his book. Handling a Phurba, as with any sacred object, respect is a must. If you are not initiated to a highest yoga tantra practice or the specific practice, generally the Phurba is wrapped for the blessings. Beer explains this, where we might see a Phurba. The Phurba is a common attribute of many Nyingma lineage holders and Terons, or in Tibetan, it's the Khotson. Tibet treasure finders who may wield a Phurba in their right hand also wear one tucked in their belt. That's probably what I should do. Tuck it in my belt and then in my pocket. That would be a form of wrapping. I tend to wear it as a necklace so I can quickly access it. The handheld Phurba performs the activity of stabbing all the obstructing demons in the 10 directions. This is when the mudras come into play. The mudras. It is wielded in the left hand and is usually paired with the right hand of Vajra or the Vajra hammer. to represent the activity of pinning down obstructive demons. Down you go. The vast Phurba that is rolled between the palms of the Vajrayana is also known as the Met Metal Phurba, the fiery tip of which grinds all enemies and fiends into dust, including those spiritual fiends. As a ritual implement, the Phurba is often depicted upright with its point penetrating a triangular wooden stand or iron prison. The Phurba is widely used by Sakya tradition, as Vajrayana is a main practice of the school. The Gelugpas also have Phurba traditions, often focus on Hayagriva, as seen with Sarah J. Its use in meditation and ritual. Phurba is used by practitioners in both meditation and ritual. It is not an implement for the uninitiated. So I technically shouldn't be using it. But in my case, it's a bit strange because the Mai Tada Ni, the red Mai Tada Ni, approached me first. I didn't do any ritual. It just was like, you're going to do this. It's just like, oh, okay. I was so scared as a kid. I was like 4 years old when the red Tara approached me in a vision. It was horrifying. And she's not evil. She's just one of the guardians of the heavens. That's why she has to be terrifying. She plays a guardian role. She has arrows. She uses, in a way, she uses the tip of the Phurba as an arrow, and she kills demons with her arrows, much like the Hindu gods do. Normally, it would be consecrated for use. In some traditions, you'd see string wrapped around the handle. If the Phurba is consecrated, normally the faces and handle are covered with blue cloth. And when used in front of the uninitiated in some traditions, in shamanic practices, this may be different. In Hungarian shamanic practice, probably white, because white represents the sky, and white represents the realms. Only those initiated or empowered can or should use the Phurba. It's basically a nice sculpture in the hands of the uninitiated. Yeah, and again, it depends if you're also appointed by the Taras as well. If the Taras appoint you, you're probably initiated and you don't even know it. Although the Phurba appears to be physical, its primary presence, power, and activity is on the mind and the spirit bodies. The biggest ritual uses tend to be to purify and consecrate land for building temples and daily meditation and ritual, daily meditations and visualizations of the deity, to bless at the deity end, to heal also at the deity end, the head, not the blade, to remove or banish negative entities. Now that's when you use the blade, like you saw in that picture. The guy was using the exorcism mudra with the point to say, the demon, this is where you stand, this is where you should leave. Consecrate and empower to purify land for construction prior to erecting a tent, a building, or a yurt. So it's not just temples, everyday constructions. And again, I think the reason for that is to let the elemental entities know that a resident is going to be living here. Do not bother the resident. Blade normally goes straight into the ground. In effect, the Phurba blade connects space, the Akasha in Sanskrit, to the earth. Cosmos as above, into the earth as below. Establishing a continuum to make offerings with the mudras. Exorcisms, although an exorcism in Buddhism is different from the Western approach, rather than banishment or destruction, the exorcist has to consider all sentient beings, not just the person infected. This includes ghosts around you, demons around you, elementals around you, other beings. Tulpas, I'll include tulpas as well. Even if they are expelled from, for example, a human host, from a non-supernatural point of view, the negative affliction symbolically banished from a person who is suffering, the spirit is typically either encouraged to rebirth, they're reborn, unlike the Christian belief system, or bound by an oath, a cosmic oath, to not harm creatures and to serve the Dharma, the demons. So they, okay. I think demons in Buddhism is a bit of a different understanding than the Christian beliefs. Again, symbolically, binding a demon to the Dharma can be viewed as converting our negative anger, so the demons within, negative anger into Dharma activity. Binding spirits to the Dharma, or oath binding, as exemplified in the activities of Padma Sambhava when he came to Tibet. To practice with the Phurba requires either initiation or empowerment, or at least the highest yoga tantra initiation. Ancient roots, Vedic and earlier shamanic. Oh, nearly done. It is clear that the roots of the Phurba or the Kila are ancient Vedic, going back to shamanistic practices, my ancestors. The Padma Sambhava records in his biography how he requested the Phurba Vitottama tantras to be brought from India so he could counteract obstructions from the many maras or the demons he encountered in Tibet. In Vedic rituals or geomancy, this is involving burials, a wooden stake is used to locate and pin down the head of the subterranean earth spirit in order to geomagnetically or magnetically stabilize the ground before an altar or fire pit constructed. Robert B. explains similar practices are still conducted in Tibet in a ritual to find the precise location of the serpent-tailed earth deity, which is basically the ley lines as well, before a monastery, temple, or stupa could be built. This is also the origin of shamanic roots, where the Phurba is equated with the god Indra, who in myth used the central spike of his mighty Vajra to pin down the head of the great serpent. Funnily enough, the indigenous Australians believe in a great serpent that's the creator force of all life on earth. Vritra, whose coils encircled the sacred hill of Mount Mandara, whose head restricted the flow of the waters of life. Importantly, from a shamanic point of view, the Kila of the Phurba is often associated with the universal world tree, or sometimes the tree of life. This is also shared in Hungarian shamanism, found in the roots of most spiritual and Norse belief systems too, and the Celts. Found in the roots of most spiritualities around the world, the shaft of the Phurba represents the world tree, especially when it is driven into the earth. So that concludes the article. That's me there, by the way. Does anyone have any thoughts or any questions about the Phurba, or any questions in general about the occult, or any entity encounters? I do want to make videos about my own entity encounters. Those will be pre-recorded, I think, through my tablets better. The other thing as well is I want to do some reaction videos to entities and do like a breakdown of entities caught on CCTV footage, and explain what's a demon, what's not a demon, what is a what's a demon in that footage, what's not a demon, what's a ghost, describe the interactions and critique what people do right with those entities and what people do wrong with those particular entities. So that's another segment of the show that I had in mind. Yeah, but that's the Phurba there. I do practice with the Phurba because to me, it's very heavily connected to my spirit and my blood memories that I have even from as a child. Hi, Dennis. I might call it a night here. My eyelids are very heavy. I would love to see breakdowns of videos of entities. All right. It's a segment I can include on the show. But that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. Stay vigilant. Stay spiritually strong and prayed up with whatever belief systems you believe in. No, we don't sacrifice animals either. We don't sacrifice animals or people on the channel. I'm a pagan. Yes, I'm a pagan polytheist, but even I am against the whole animal child sacrifice stuff. My daughter earlier told me about our pup staring at something above our couch, growling at something invisible, and ran back to her crate. Oh yeah, Animals are very highly attuned to these things. Animals can pick these things up like radar screens, pick up planes at military bases. Animals are very attuned. Cats and dogs in particular, if your cat and your dog are acting up around something invisible, there might be something invisible there. Take care of yourself, Dennis. Be safe out there. You too, Psycho Mind. You too. Don't let your tulpa consume you. If you're working with a tulpa, don't let your tulpa consume you. Set very clear, strict boundaries with it. That's all I could say. Yeah. Bye, everyone. Humanis Invictus. The human spirit remains unconquered. Say no to transhumanism.